Little Bighorn Massacre, 90 minutes of carnage. The first thing General Alfred Terry's men noticed was the flies. Thousands of them, black and buzzing, blanketing the slopes of Last Stand Hill. As they climbed, the stench of rotting flesh thickened, a sweet, nauseating odor that clung to their uniforms. At the crest, the horror unfolded. 263 bodies sprawled in the June sun, stripped naked, scalped, and mutilated. George Armstrong Custer lay at the center, his right leg sheared off at the knee, skull crushed by a stone war club. A wooden stake protruded from his throat, a Cheyenne death mark for liars. Nearby, a young private's corpse bristled with 17 arrows. Captain Frederick Benteen, his face a mask of contempt, kicked a blood-caked boot aside. "Hero?" he sneered. "Heroes don't ignore scouts. Heroes don't charge 7,000 Sioux with 647 men. He died like a fool chasing glory." The numbers told the story. 268 dead in 90 minutes, including Custer's brothers Tom and Boston. Forensic studies later confirmed the slaughter's speed. Custer's battalion fired 35,000 rounds, one shot every 10 seconds per soldier, before being overrun. Archaeologists still find 45-55 shell casings embedded in the soil, silent witnesses to desperation. But the Lakota saw it differently. To them, it was Wichunjong, where long hair fell. A Cheyenne warrior later recalled, "We didn't hate Custer, we pitied him. He fought like a cornered wolf, but wolves die alone." As Terry surveyed the carnage, he scribbled in his journal, "This was no battle, it was a reckoning." How did America's most celebrated general, a man who survived 11 horses shot beneath him in the Civil War, lead his men into a massacre even his enemies called suicide? At 1:15 p.m., Private John Martin, Custer's Italian-born trumpeter, galloped into Benteen's camp, his horse foaming at the mouth. "They're surrounded, sir. Thousands of them, Sioux, Cheyenne, every damn tribe." He thrust Custer's final order at Benteen, scrawled in Adjutant Cook's jagged hand. "Come quick, big village. Be quick, bring packs." Benteen glanced at the note, then tossed it aside. "Packs? The man wants mules while his men bleed?" He turned to Lieutenant Godfrey. "Tell McDougal to drag the supplies. We ride now." "But the packs," Martin protested. "Let Custer reap what he sowed," Benteen snapped. "Go." As Martin fled, gunfire echoed from the Little Bighorn. 1,800 warriors under Crazy Horse and Gall were closing in. Custer's men, trapped on Calhoun Hill, fired 22 shots per minute, their Springfields glowing red-hot. A Cheyenne warrior later recalled, "We saw their panic. They shot too high, too fast, like children throwing rocks." Meanwhile, Major Marcus Reno crouched on the bluffs, his whiskey breath fogging his spectacles. "We're whipped!" he screamed as warriors overran his skirmish line. Of his 112 men, 47 lay dead in 20 minutes. "Half my men gone. Where's Benteen? Where's God?" At 3 p.m., Reno abandoned his post. "Hodgson's body, it's still out there," he slurred, mounting a stray horse. For 30 critical minutes, he zigzagged through gunfire to retrieve his lieutenant's corpse, a bloated, arrow-riddled mess in the shallows of the Little Bighorn. "The Major's hunting corpses while we're becoming them," a trooper cursed, firing at shadows. Reno returned empty-handed, his uniform splattered with mud and blood. "We need to retreat," he panted. "Dig in. Wait for Terry." As Custer's men fired their last bullets, why did Reno's command disintegrate? And what secret pact between Benteen and Terry sealed their fate? Modern ballistic analysis reveals 97% of Custer's cartridges were fired defensively, proof his men were surrounded, not charging. Reno's retreat path, mapped by archaeologist Richard Fox, shows 112 individual rifle pits, each a soldier's desperate last stand. By 9 p.m., the survivors numbered just 53 able-bodied men. Sioux drums pulsed across the valley, 412 beats per minute, a tempo later replicated by Crow tribal singers in 2001 as part of audio forensics experiments. The rhythm wasn't random. Ethnographers now argue it mirrored the Lakota hunka ceremony, honoring warriors' courage. For the soldiers, though, it was torture. "They're dancing on Custer's bones," a teenage trooper sobbed, clawing at his ears. His name was John Duval, 17, a New York orphan enlisted under a false name. He'd survive the night, but hang himself in 1883, whispering Sioux chants in his final moments. Behind rotting horse carcasses, Dr. Henry Porter performed surgeries by moonlight. No anesthesia, he wrote in his journal, later confiscated by the War Department. One man bit through his tongue, another prayed to his dead mother. Evolutionary anthropologists analyzing Porter's notes in 2018 noted a pattern. Soldiers who invoked family lived 43% longer than those who prayed to God, a grim testament to the power of earthly tethers. On the bluffs, Major Marcus Reno poured whiskey into his canteen. To Custer, he slurred, toasting the darkness, "May hell be kinder than the Sioux." At 4:30 a.m., Lieutenant Edward Godfrey, a man whose service record read, "prone to lethargy and oversleeping," strode through camp with a revolver in one hand and a coffee tin in the other. "Form lines now," he ordered, kicking awake shivering troopers. "Fall back in ranks or I'll shoot deserters myself." "Gone," Godfrey barked. "Terry's column's 10 hours out. You want salvation? Run." For the next 97 minutes, Godfrey's rearguard covered 1.2 miles of open ground, firing 312 rounds to hold off pursuing Lakota. Modern trajectory analysis shows his men aimed low, a survival tactic contrasting Custer's wild vertical shots. Archaeologists in 2005 found 17 Springfield casings near Godfrey's annotated firing positions, each stamped U.S. 1874. At dawn, Godfrey tallied the cost: 3 dead, 11 wounded. He wrote to his wife that evening, "Ain't no hero, just too stubborn to die." The 7th Cavalry survivors described the siege as heroic resistance. But Cheyenne oral histories recorded in the 1930s tell another story. Two Moon, a warrior who fought at Weir Point, recalled, "Soldiers crawled like ants after their hill burned. We let them live. They were broken." Here lies the paradox. Reno and Benteen's last stand was not a stand at all. Thermal imaging surveys conducted in 2016 proved most rifle pits faced away from Lakota forces, suggesting men shot blindly while retreating. Dr. Douglas Scott, a battle archaeologist, concluded, "This was less a defense than a slow collapse. Their heroism was desperation made legible." The Army's 1879 Court of Inquiry whitewashed Reno's drunkenness and Benteen's delays, framing their survival as unflinching courage. Privately, General Sheridan wrote, "Better a lie-spun legend than a truth that shames us." Yet modern scholarship dissects the myth. Benteen's pocket watch, recovered from his descendants in 1999, had a cracked face frozen at 2:17 p.m., the exact moment Custer's battalion fell. Did Benteen glance at it while delaying? Historians debate whether it symbolized guilt or cold calculation. As for Godfrey, his heroism earned him a Medal of Honor in 1894, 18 years later, when the Army needed living heroes to offset Custer's infamy. His citation tellingly omitted his pre-battle reputation as a lounger. By dawn on June 26th, the heroes were shadows crawling toward Terry's column. But what awaited them wasn't salvation. It was a reckoning with truth. How does history judge survivors of a massacre when their survival damned them? The Sioux disbanded their camp that morning, vanishing like ghosts. They'd won the battle, but sensed the true war ahead. As Sitting Bull later told a reporter, "You think we celebrated? We mourned. When you kill a mad wolf, you don't rejoice. You remember how close it came to your throat." At dawn on June 27th, General Alfred Terry's column crested Last Stand Hill. The stench hit them first, a cloying mix of blood, gunpowder, and decay. Custer's naked body lay splayed in the dirt, his famous golden curls matted with gore. 17 arrows protruded from his torso, and his right leg, severed at the knee, rested 20 yards away, a Cheyenne trophy. Nearby, his brother Tom's corpse was so mutilated that identification required a dental match, his gold-filled molar documented in Army records. Terry turned to Benteen, his voice a venomous whisper, "Your delay killed them." Benteen, cleaning his spectacles with a bloodied kerchief, smirked. "Custer did that himself. Split his force, ignored the scouts, charged like a damn fool. You think I could have stopped that?" The numbers mocked them, 268 dead in 90 minutes. Only Comanche Captain Miles Keogh's horse survived, his wounds later romanticized as bravery in a War Department exhibit. Of the 7th Cavalry's 12 companies, only 3, H, D, and K, remained combat-ready. Survivors stumbled into Terry's camp like ghosts. Private Giovanni Di Rudio, an Italian revolutionary turned soldier, crawled from the timber, his uniform shredded, eyes vacant. "I hid while they died," he whispered to a chaplain. "The Sioux passed me twice. I prayed to Garibaldi. God was busy." DiRudio's cowardice became legend. Court-martialed twice and acquitted, he lived to 85, dying in 1922 while cursing Custer's name. His confession, buried in Army archives until 1971, exposes the battle's unvarnished truth. Survival was luck, not valor. The Army's official report hailed Custer as a gallant martyr. Privately, Sheridan fumed. "Custer's recklessness cost us the West." Benteen and Reno faced courts of inquiry, but escaped blame. Their survival deemed proof of competence, not cowardice. Modern archaeology dismantles the myths. LiDAR scans revealed Custer's men fired 35,000-plus rounds in a shrinking defensive perimeter, contradicting the heroic charge narrative. Forensic anthropologists found 62% of soldier skulls bore execution-style wounds, temple shots point-blank from Lakota 44 to 40 Henry rifles. Yet the Sioux paid a darker price. Within a year, the victors of Little Bighorn were starving, their buffalo herds slaughtered, their children confined to reservations. As Sitting Bull later said, "We won the battle but lost the world." Custer's last stand became America's founding myth of sacrifice. But what does it say about a nation that glorifies a massacre as heroism and survivors as liars? In 1983, Cheyenne elders buried a lock of Custer's hair during a reconciliation ceremony. The ritual's leader, Eugene Black Bear, shrugged, "We pity him still. Arrogance dies harder than men." The hill remains, the casings rust, the flies still gather,